Greetings. My name is Paula and welcome. Um, Today's subject is for mature audiences only. I have age restricted this video. However, if you landed on it and you are under the age of 18, I am asking you to please click off this video right now. This content is intended for folks who are adults. It is not intended for anyone under the age of 18. So if you are not an adult, I would really appreciate you clicking off right now. For those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. I am a practicing witch. I've been a witch for almost 15 years. I also am a Reiki master, a paranormal investigator, and a psychic medium. Today's subject is on demons, and this is part of the Unborn series here on BYO Spirit and Everything Paranormal. Typically what I do with these is one video explaining the entity, and then I do a separate video under the Defense Against the Dark series that tells you how to protect yourself from those entities. Today's subject is on demons, and these entities are the most feared, just like shadow people are. Depending on what text you read and where your references are, there are different classifications for demons. I'm not going to get into specific names, other than maybe one or two that are, mentioned in spiritual texts specifically, that most people are familiar with. But the reason that I don't name entities is because you can call them to you. I highly recommend, when you're listening to this, before I get into any specifics, that you do a quick prayer of protection, asking the divine, whoever you pray to put a bright light of protection around you. I myself cast a circle of protection before I started recording this video, and I reinforced the protections in my house, and I also have personal protections in my jewelry on me right now, and I have crystals and stones in front of me while I'm recording this. I take this very seriously. So if you would please take a moment to do that, I would appreciate that. Thank you. Depending on what text you read, you will get a different answer about how demons came about. Most texts do realize that the highest level demons are actually fallen angels. And the most well-known of those was Lucifer. He was God's favorite, and he was of the seraphim level, which are those angels that are the closest to God. And he thought he was equal to God. There was actually, in biblical texts and in Judeo-Christian texts, other texts, there was a battle, and the archangel Michael cast these fallen angels out of heaven. And so those angels became the organization for the hierarchy of demonic entities, because they were cast out of heaven. There are also references to Adam's first wife. Her name is Lilith. Many arcane texts attribute incubi and succubi to her as her children. Um, if you read Genesis very closely, the woman was created twice. Uh, so, it you kind of go, what? When God creates Eve. Um, so if you read it very closely, you'll catch it. There are Jewish texts that go into this much further. Christian texts kind of just skim over it and don't really recognize it. Vampires are also attributed to this particular entity that was cast out of the Garden of Eden by God because she would not follow God's rules. Now, depending on what text you read, a lot of these texts came out of anywhere from the 1400s to the 1600s. Even the Old Testament, Solomon, refers to demons and enslaving them to build the Temple of Solomon. So, according to Spina, which is a medieval text, there are demons of fate, there are incubi and succubi, there are wandering groups or armies. These are like minions. There are familiars, and these would be entities that help witches and what are called cunning folk with their magic. Druids, which are German in origin, and they are demons associated with nightmares. There are Cambions, which are born of demon and human union, just like Nephilim are born of human and angel unions. So this would have been the demonic entity that would be born of human and demon. There are liar and mischievous demons, and then there are demons that attack saints. And then this one is really an arcane reference. There are demons that induce old women to attend witches' Sabbaths, because at the time this was written, women had a separate Sabbath and were not allowed to attend the regular Sabbath. They had a specific part of the church that they had to go to, and these demons would would tempt the older women to go into the regular part of the church to attend services with the men. Now, there were also, believe it or not, King James took time to sit down and classify them also. And he used spectra to describe spirits that trouble houses or solitary places. Obsessions he used to describe spirits that follow upon certain people to outwardly trouble them at various times of the day. He used the term possession to describe spirits that enter inwardly into a person to trouble them and take them over. So instead of an obsession where it's an outside, where they're, continually harassing from the outside, this is when a demonic entity would actually enter the body and take a human over. He also used the term fairies to describe spirits that prophesy, consort, and transport. And then you get into Michaelis's classification of demons. And this was written in 1613, according to my notes. And the first hierarchy of demons, according to him, this is really based on the fallen angel concept that I mentioned just a little bit ago. And in the first hierarchy are the fallen seraphim, cherubim, and thrones. And he specifically names demons and what their let me see, how can I put it? What their kingdom or their influence is, so to speak. In the second hierarchy, include those angels that were fallen from the powers, dominions, and virtues. And then the third was principalities, archangels, and angels. And this one I can kind of go in a little bit more. No, I can't, because he used specific names, and I don't want to summon any of these. And the thing of it is that the demons that are in the first, second, and third hierarchies are the ones that are the commanders. When you read the Bible, and there are references to commanders of legions, or commanders of, X number of legions, and this and that and the other. These are the angels, fallen angels that they're talking about, and the demonic entities that they are talking about. These are the ones that are particularly strong. They have the most influence. They are the most dangerous. And then there are what are called minions, and these are what those entities command. But there are other levels underneath these three rankings, where you can run into some still very nasty entities. And they're very difficult to deal with. And they're nothing to play with. They are nothing to conjure. In the Magus, written in 1801 by Francis Barrett, he classified demons, making them princes of an evil kind of attitude. And I'm not going to mention the specific demon, but I will say what the attitude was. The first was the one of false gods and idolaters. The next was spirits of lying and liars. The next is vessels of iniquity and inventors of evil things. Revengers of wickedness is next. Imitators of miracles, and over evil witches and warlocks. Purveyors of pestilence is next. Sowers of discord. Inquisitors and fraudulent accusers. And then tempters and ensnarers. It is so difficult in so many different arcane texts. And there are even more if you want to look them up. There is the Livre d'Esprit. There is Le Dragon Rouge. And the main article in that is the Grand Grimoire. There is Pseudomornica Daemonium. There's the Lesser Key of Solomon. Let's see. There is the Ars Goetia. And there is the Dictionnaire Infernal, which is the Dictionary of the Infernal. and finally, the Satanic Bible. Now, I mentioned that I'm a witch. I do not conjure, consort, or work with demons in any way, shape, or form. Never have, never will. The only thing that I have done is come across a demon during a paranormal investigation, and we eradicated this particular we exorcised this particular entity from a home here in Virginia, and the homeowner did exactly what we told them not to do, and the entity came back. And not only did it come back and start attacking those people in the home, it started attacking everybody who was there for the exorcism and the rite of exorcism on the house and the house blessing. So it is no fun. It's very emotionally draining. We were under attack for over a month. And I will tell you, I was a hot mess. It was not any fun at all. So I will never, ever intentionally conjure anything like that. I don't want to mess with them. I am not a demonologist. I don't claim to be, nor do I want to be. The only reason we took on that case down south in Virginia, in central Virginia, is because there was a 9-year-old girl involved, and we did not know. We were called in by another group, and we did not know until we got there and actually caught the name in an EVP who and what we were dealing with. And that case eventually got turned over to the Archbishop of Los Angeles, who controls the exorcists in the United States. And Father Dave Daly ended up doing, I'm sorry, one of my dogs decided to get all funky over there. And that's his dog tags. Sorry about that. But Father Dave Daly ended up doing the exorcism and ended up, the family ended up being fine. Now, people probably want to know, well, what does demonic possession even look like? And there are different levels. You have infestation, you have oppression, and you have full-on possession. And my photo bomber Rocky is here with me, so he has to make his regular video appearance, and he just has to come in and say hello to everybody. So sorry about that. So what can you look for? And I have done a video on hauntings, oppression, and possession in the past. And I will link that video in the description and at the end of this video. So one thing is that so many times hauntings, yes, honey, I know, resemble mental illnesses or can involve drug and substance abuse, alcohol abuse. So I am very, very leery to give out absolutes, because nothing is absolute where this is concerned. So I'm giving generalities. This does not, if you have any of these symptoms, it does not mean you're automatically possessed by a demon. Do not think that, because there's a lot of other things that you need to look for along with this. But these are some of the warning signs. The first one being an aversion to spirituality. So in other words, if you have religious icons in the house and all of a sudden, they want them taken down, they can't stand to have them around. If normally they would wear like a cross or a religious medal or something like that, and then they take them off and they don't want anything to do with them, they, might even try and throw them out or something like that. or, even if they quit going to church, where normally they would be a very good, churchgoer, going to synagogue, something like that, and then all of a sudden they quit going. Um, a feeling of being blocked, or cut off from your emotions, and even being blocked creatively. Um, so where normally, like if you have a creative outlet and you normally, you know, paint, write, journal, whatever, and all of a sudden you can't be bothered with it. That could be something, especially if it's something that you love, that's a creative outlet. Another one is the sudden development of drug or drinking problems. And I'm not saying that if you have or have had an issue with substance abuse that you're possessed by a demon. What I am saying is that sometimes, if you have had an issue with drug or substance abuse because you have a lower vibrational level when you're in an altered state, it is easier to become possessed when you're in that altered state and your vibrational level is lower. Just like, I've told this story when I broke my leg several years ago, almost 10 years ago now. Um, I was on, they didn't do the surgery for a week. I broke my tib fib. So in essence, my left leg was in 4 pieces. It was a complete break between, the tibia and the fibula, excuse me. And I was in a lot of pain. They sent me home for a week before they did the surgery. And in that time, I was on a tremendous amount of Percocet to control the pain. And I could not protect myself because of the level of pain and the number of painkillers I was having to take to manage the pain. So my friend Marta and my friend Alex actually helped bolster me and helped protect me in my aura, so that I didn't develop any kind of attachments or have any issues with, spirits bothering me while I was in in an altered state with vibrational, a different vibrational level. So, you know, personally, I know that you cannot shield yourself as easily when you're in an altered state from, pain medication or alcohol or whatever. So you're more prone to developing an attachment in that state. Odd, out of character behavior, where somebody is normally very docile, also all of a sudden becomes very volatile and violent, something like that. Or someone who's very modest all of a sudden becomes, dressing very provocatively or something like that. When they take alcohol and it severely changes their character, like just flips them into a completely different person, that can be a sign. A feeling of an odd presence, and not a presence of a loved one. So, don't let it freak you out, because, I always have, a spirit around me whenever I live stream. People always see orbs behind me. And those are my loved ones. They're here, with me all the time. So, but I'm talking an odd presence as in more of a menacing presence, that leaves you uneasy and leaves you off kilter. Another one would be if someone suddenly stops getting along with people and they start isolating themselves from people completely and cutting themselves off. Another is hearing voices. And I'm not talking about good voices. I'm not talking about that little, inner voice that tells you, something's off. But I'm talking, you know, like growls or menacing things like, you know, get out and stuff like that. And then the last one is severe night terrors and night paralysis. But like I said, a lot of these symptoms can also be attributed to mental illnesses. So do not think that right off the bat that because, you know, there you've got some of these symptoms that you're possessed by a demon, because that's not what I'm saying. So with that, I know that I didn't go into a lot of detail with this. I don't want to go into a lot of detail. But I do want to give you some information. Like I said, I will link the video on hauntings, possessions, and attachments. Be on the lookout very quickly for a Defense Against the Dark video on how to protect yourself with various metals, herbs, gemstones, and some folk magic that you can do to kind of protect your home after you've cleansed it. So with that said, everyone, I hope you found this a little bit interesting. I'm going to link some books also in the description box that I recommend. One of them is The Dictionary of Demons by Michelle Belanger. She put in a whole lot of work into researching arcane texts and everything else. So I'm going to put that in the description box also. So with that said, this is kind of an awkward little jump here because my mic quit working in the first try. So I'm having to splice in another outro here. I really encourage someone that if you think that you have an issue, please reach out to me. I may have a contact that could help you. You can DM me on Twitter at BYOS Paranormal. Or you can email me at byospiritparanormal@gmail.com. I'm a little bit slower answering emails than I am on Twitter. I'm usually on Twitter more than I am on an email, just because I forget to check that email. But I'm more than willing to try and give you some advice. Like I said, I am not a demonologist. I don't profess to be. I am kind of well versed about certain things. But I do know folks who are more well versed than I, and my group does have contacts with some very well known people like John Zaffis and a few others. So, you know, feel free to reach out. I'm always here to try and help, and if I possibly can. And with that said, everyone, until the next video, be well and walk in love and light, everybody.